Can you just give us an idea of the challenges that face your sector?
Well, the airport sector has to have a balance of mitigating a variety of environmental effects. The reason you're hearing so much about the airline side of the challenge is that that's the international side, and that has not yet been dealt with at the international level. Whereas airports, most of airport effects have been dealt with or are being dealt with at a national level because airports are local. No matter how big or how international the airport, it's still a local asset. It's a neighbor in a community. It's governed by local or national laws and regulations. And so you don't hear as much about it. So airports have to deal with noise issues, which have been around for a long time, air quality issues, not just CO2. CO2 is obviously very important and is an international, is a global issue, which and airports have to play their part. But there are water quality issues that airports have to deal with, as well as habitat issues, natural resource, energy conservation. As part of their local or state or national governments' practices, policies, and aspirations. So because it's more diffuse, because it's in all these different areas, there's no one number for an airport to achieve. The airport has to achieve success in all of those areas. The whole concept of collaboration comes naturally to airports because it's what we have to do all of the time. You have these stakeholders with different priorities. All those things I just mentioned about noise and water quality and air quality and CO2 reduction and water quality. I think I said water quality already. And natural habitat. Those are all things that are on the top of someone's agenda. So an airport is always dealing with the top of somebody else's agenda. So to collaborate with the rest of the industry on CO2 is a very natural process for us. The whole challenge of communicating what we're doing, what the technology is, because as you say, airports are very complex and there's a lot of technological issues that are inherent in airports, but you have to be able to communicate the impacts, the issues of those technological issues to lay people because they have their own issues, and you have to find some common ground, and you have to work with people over time and develop trust. Well, that's exactly what we as an industry are doing with respect to CO2. So airports are very natural parts of that. The only thing you don't hear as much about us because for the CO2 part, we're a very small part of the action. Aviation is only 2% of the total in the world, and then we're about 2% of that. So you don't hear as much about us, but the whole concept of collaboration, we're very comfortable with. I think as a sector, the regulatory community, if you will, it's very comfortable with what we're doing. And they feel that we're on the right track, that we get it, and that we're moving forward. The issues that are creating the difficulties in trying to actually get a global framework, which is what we want, the issues are really not aviation. The issues are the bigger picture between the various countries or among the various countries on all the other issues. The 98% that they're going to need to agree on pose some tremendous challenges, particularly between the developing world that's becoming very quickly industrialized and the developed world that's already been industrialized, and getting equity between, well, I already got mine, so now, now let's everyone stop, versus, well, wait a minute, we're not there yet, so, we should be given some tolerance. Those are not really aviation issues because the facts are quite different. The developing world is not that different from the developed world technologically in aviation. So, we could be treated differently, but to the extent that however we get treated has implications for the negotiating stance in other areas, that's the issue. Aviation is really not the issue. The issue for us is we don't want to have, and this is more of an airline issue than an airport issue, we don't want to have different rules for different countries because airplanes go from one country to the other. Now, airports stay in one place, and so for us, having a set of rules that applies to each airport, is normal. But we would be very much affected negatively if air carriers had to have different rules, because that just could create chaos in terms of the air service for each community we want to serve. So that's why we're in it. We are very much vested with the airlines on this issue. We as an industry have used the summit each time to educate ourselves on what we need to focus on next. What we're missing, what are we doing right and need to keep doing, what should we not really focus on very much, and what we should now educate ourselves more on and really put some more resources on. So I think this has been excellent.